Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel for another episode of the Routes Learning series recorded within Train Simulator. In this episode we're going to be taking a look at part of the Nottingham to Lincoln extension to the Just Trains Midland main line. I'm going to be driving between Lincoln Central Station and Newark Northgate on the East Coast main line. This route's pretty special to me, as Lincoln is my birthplace and I lived there with my parents from 1987 when I was born up until 1994 when we moved to the south coast near Eastbourne. After leaving Lincoln, we still regularly travelled up there to visit family, and so I know this route from a passenger perspective pretty much like the back of my hand. I'm hoping that this means I can give you a bit more background about the area that we're driving through than I usually do in my videos. And the service that I'm driving is going to be train 2 Tango 56, which is the 9:11 AM East Midlands Railway service from Lincoln Central through to Newark Northgate, with our stops along the way including Hykeham, Swinderby, Collingham, and finally Newark Northgate, with a total journey distance of around 16.5 miles. The train that I'm driving is a Class 156 diesel multiple unit, which has featured on the channel a few times before, so probably doesn't need too much introduction, but for those of you who may be new to the channel, the Class 156 units were built between 1987 and 1989 by Metro Camel at Washwood Heath in Birmingham, first entering service in 1988. A total of 114 two-coach units were constructed, with each unit being around 46 metres or 150 feet in length. Each unit weighs around 70 tonnes, and they're equipped with a 6-cylinder 14-litre turbo diesel engine for each coach, each engine rated at 285 horsepower, for a total power output on each two-coach train of around 570 horsepower. They have a maximum speed of 75 miles per hour, with the maximum speed limit on this journey today being 70 miles per hour. Okay, so I've just jumped into the cab of the Class 156, so let's quickly set up the train ready for departure here. So firstly we need to switch the master key, and this is just a standard setup procedure just to say that you get with most Armstrong Powerhouse packs. So press the Shift and W to switch the master key, and then move the reversing handle into the neutral position and reset the AWS self-test sequence. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to press I to turn on the instrument lights, H for the headlights, J for the marker lights, and K to turn off the tail lights at this end of the train. I'm not going to switch off the driver reminder appliance, which you can see in front of us here, because A, the signal is at danger right now, and B, you also shouldn't turn it off until you're ready to depart anyway. So just to quickly go through the controls, very familiar for anybody who watches my videos. We've got a standard West Code 3-step brakes. You've got the release position, and then steps 1 to step 3, which is full service, and then finally a 4th step, which is emergency. Generally I'm not going to want to brake above step 2 when I'm driving, so that you've got more brake force available if you require it. Just to the right of that we've got the brake gauge, so the right needle is indicating the number of bars of pressure, and that's showing you how hard the brakes are applied. So the higher that needle is pointing, the harder the brakes are applied, and I just released the braking slightly so you can see it dropping, and then 0 means the brakes are fully released. So we've then got the speedometer measured in miles per hour. I noticed that there is no red line marking the maximum speed of this unit, which there is on many trains in the UK, but as I've already mentioned, the maximum speed is going to be 75 miles per hour, though we won't get up to that on this journey today. Over on this hand side we've got the throttle control, which is a 7-notch throttle. Generally I'll start the train moving in notch 3, and then I'll gradually notch up from there, so we're in notch 7 by the time we're sort of doing 15 miles an hour or so. We've also got a very big giant AWS reset button in front of us, which is the yellow button there. We don't have a driver safety device to turn on this train. I think it's still done with the old style dead man's pedal. I did wonder initially if Armstrong Powerhouse had just missed it out, but I think actually it doesn't have a driver safety device in reality, or maybe it has been fitted to some units but not to others. I'm not 100% certain on that. In front of us here we've got the horn control, which is the 2-tone horn, controllable with the spacebar and the B key. And now one other thing I want to do is just set up the GSMR radio system. So to do that I'm going to click on the top right hand button, then enter the train head code, which is 2 Tango 56, and then finally the signal number, which is going to be 833. And then if you tick that, just wait for it to register, checking head code, and it's now registered on the GSMR radio system. I am also going to change the destination display on the outside of the train using the F8 key to set it to Newark Northgate, but I'm not going to show you that process because it's very simple, and it's just feels a bit pointless sitting there for 30 to 40 seconds just waiting for it to scroll through all of the destinations on the outside. But I have set that so you will see it on the outside of the train from this point in the video. So now that I've set up the train ready for departure, let's take another look outside the train and depart out towards Newark Northgate. As we depart away from Lincoln Central, the speed limit here is 25 miles per hour with around 4¼ miles to go to the first stop, which is Hykeham. So we've just crossed the high street there at the level crossing. I'm now going to cut the power back just to ensure that we don't break the 25 speed limit. This crossover here that we're crossing onto the left-hand track didn't exist for many years, and trains actually coming into Lincoln would come into the platform that we've just departed from, and they'd have to go out the other end of the station and then reverse back into Lincoln to the platform on the other side so that they could depart back out in the direction towards Newark. So the speed limit's just gone up to 40 miles per hour, and I'm going to accelerate to that now. You can actually accelerate to the 40 limit at the points that we just crossed. So now passing the area of Lincoln University, the railway actually cuts through the university campus here. There wasn't a university here for a very long time, and in fact they built it after I'd moved away from Lincoln. This whole area is called the Brayford, and it was very run-down sort of industrial wasteland, and it's been completely redeveloped because of the university, and I think it looks an awful lot nicer than it used to. So I've just shut off the power now to allow the train to coast at this point. The speed limit will soon be dropping to 30 miles per hour as we approach the upcoming junction, so I'm going to apply the brakes just very lightly now as we've passed the signal there. In fact, I'm going to increase that slightly to ensure that we are down to 30 in time. So at this junction we're going to diverge to the left, and the line heading off to the right is the line towards Doncaster, Gainsborough and Retford, so services from Lincoln towards Doncaster and Sheffield would normally use that route. And the curve that we're on here, a very sharp left-hand curve, is known as Boultham Curve. I'm just allowing the train to coast at 30 for now until the next speed change, so there will be an increase in the speed limit coming up in a moment, up to 50 miles per hour. The speed limit's now increasing to 50, so we can accelerate up towards that now, especially with how slowly the train starts to accelerate once you pass the speed post. And with the length of the train, you don't need to worry too much about whether the rear of the train has cleared the post or not, because it pretty much certainly will have done. So after we've rounded this right-hand curve, we're going to be on quite a long straight section of track, and we're going to be running alongside a road called Tritton Road, which is named after one William Tritton, who's credited as the inventor of the tank in World War I, and it was actually in Lincoln where the tank was invented. So I've cut the power back now to notch 2 to try and maintain the speed and ensure that we don't break the 50 mile per hour speed limit. Unfortunately, this route is a little bit laggy in the Lincoln area, but the frame rate does seem to be improving since the start of the video. We're now coming up on Skellingthorpe Road level crossing. So where I used to live was an estate called Birchwood, which is just like a giant council estate, I guess. And so you'd go to the right on this road. It's about probably a couple of miles away from here. At some point between Skellingthorpe Road crossing and the next level crossing that we go over, which is Doddington Road crossing, there was a foot crossing that I remember as a kid standing and watching a train go past, and it was the first time I'd ever encountered a foot crossing on the railway. Seems that the foot crossing in the game actually doesn't exist. I don't know if it's still there in real life or not. We're now crossing Doddington Road crossing, and at this point I'm going to shut off the power and allow the train to coast. So just past an AWS ramp on the opposite track, and now I'm going to apply the brakes to bring our speed down so that we can stop at Hykeham station in time. As you can see here at Hykeham Station, the platforms are staggered, so if you see the platform coming up on the right hand side, don't worry too much, as you've still got a little bit more distance before you have to stop. Probably slowing down a little bit too quickly there. Ooh! Not sure that van should be crossing right there. Yeah, we're slowing down a little bit too quickly, so I just released the braking momentarily, and now I'm going to bring our speed down to stop right near the end of the platform. Now, I'm not sure the exact stopping point. It's not a long platform, so I'm sure it can't matter, well, that much. Departing away from Hykeham, the speed limit is 70 miles per hour with just over 4.5 miles to go to Swinderby, which is the next stop. I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, Hykeham Station used to be called North Hykeham. I think the name might have changed in more recent years. As we pass this upcoming overbridge, we've got just over 3.5 miles to go. now approaching 70 miles per hour, the maximum line speed at this point. In a moment I'm going to cut the power back to around notch 3, and that should pretty much hold us at 70. We might lose a very tiny bit of speed. If I do, of course, I will increase the power, but notch 3 seems to pretty much hold this train at 70 miles per hour. Certainly on level grades anyway. In a moment we're going to reach a left-hand curve. It's the only left-hand curve between Hykeham and Swinderby. At the start of this curve we've got just over 2 miles to go. So at the end of this curve we've now got around 1¼ miles to go. I'm going to shut off the power and allow the train to coast at the next level crossing that's just coming up. We've just reached the crossing now. Power's now shut off, and now I'm looking for 2 sort of grey equipment boxes on the right hand side for the opposite track. Once I've seen them, I'm then going to apply the brakes for our stop up to around step 2. I think I can just see them coming up on the right hand side. Yep, there they are now. So now I'm going to make a step 2 brake application, which should bring our speed off nicely in time for Swinderby station. Do take care with Swinderby, as the platform is extremely short. I think it's the shortest platform on the route. And you need to aim to stop at the end of the platform, of course, because it's about the only way you can fit the entire train in. Might have brought our speed off slightly too much too quickly, but I can see the platform coming up just ahead. Also, just before Swinderby station at this speed post here, the speed limit is dropping to 50 miles per hour, and that's going to be the maximum speed limit for the rest of our journey to Newark Northgate. I don't really recommend entering the platform here at Swinderby any faster than 15 miles per hour, just to ensure that you can actually stop in time. So we should now be stopping in just about the right place. As we depart away from Swinderby, the speed limit is still 50 miles per hour, with around 2½ miles to go to the next stop, which is Collingham. As we reach 50 miles per hour, I'm going to drop the power to go between notches 2 and 3 to maintain that speed. I do have to say, I don't understand why the speed limit along here is 50 miles per hour. It feels inordinately slow when you consider how straight the route is. It just feels like that they could have a much higher speed limit. It could easily be 70 most of the way along here. So the next landmark will be the next signal. At the next signal, we've got just over half a mile to go to Collingham station. So we're just coming up on the next signal now, with just over half a mile to go. I'm going to shut off the power in a moment to allow the train to coast. So I've shut off the power now, and I'll apply the brakes for Collingham just after the next crossing. Probably braked a bit too much. I didn't even need step 2 at that point, but you can see the platform coming up just ahead. Of course, again, it is a short platform, but I don't think it's quite as short as Swinderby, if I remember correctly. Here at Collingham, I want to stop at the S sign, which is near the end of the platform. There's actually a clear stop marker here. Probably shouldn't fan the brakes quite as much as I am. Want to make sure I'm stopping in just the right place. Departing away from Collingham, the speed limit is still 50 miles per hour, with around 5 miles to go to the next and final stop, which is Newark Northgate. We just got some quite bad wheel slip there. You see the speedo go a bit wild. I really like driving in wheel slip conditions. I would drive in the rain a bit more, but I just feel it's not quite so good when I'm making a YouTube video. But certainly when I'm driving for myself, I love driving in the autumn in heavy rain and just trying to see what I can do when the wheels are slipping and sliding all over the place. Once again, as we reach 50 miles per hour, I'll go between notches 2 and 3 of power to maintain that speed. this upcoming signal, which is the first signal out of Collingham. We've got around 3 3/4 miles to go. Passing an LNER service from London King's Cross. For most of my life, Lincoln had no direct connection through to London. When I was a young kid, there was an HST, well, one a day in each direction if I remember rightly. It was either 1 or 2 a day in each direction that ran from London King's Cross through to Lincoln, and I think it went on to Cleethorpes if I remember correctly, and then they got rid of it from the timetable completely, and so if you wanted to go from Lincoln to London, you either had to take this route to Newark, and then you would change at Newark for services to London King's Cross, or alternately you could take the train from Lincoln to Peterborough, and then you'd take the train from Peterborough down to London King's Cross. I'd love to see the route from Lincoln to Peterborough done in this game in the future. I'm hoping maybe it's something that Just Trains will look into as part of their sort of expanded East Midlands network. So yeah, as I was saying, sorry, I was slightly distracted by somebody opening the front door near my room. But yeah, as I was saying, so they've restored direct services from Lincoln to London. There's a very slow one that goes into St Pancras, operated by East Midlands Trains in a Class 222. And then there is the quicker service, which is operated by London North Eastern Railway. And I think it's now 1 train every 2 hours or something like that is the service frequency. So I can see we've got a single yellow signal coming up. That signal is 2/3 of a mile to the next signal, and the next signal is the one guarding the junction where we turn off this Nottingham line and we turn towards the East Coast main line at Newark Northgate. So I'm going to shut off the power now, and then I'll shortly just start braking very lightly to start slowing down for that signal. I should say, do be careful when approaching the next signal, as the visibility really isn't that great, as it's mostly obscured by this tree line until we get very close. Oh, a very severe case of wheel slide there, and unlike more modern units, the Class 156s have no wheel slide protection, so you've got to manage the wheel slide yourself. So when the wheels lock up like that, the speedometer will drop rapidly, and then what you have to do is you have to manually reduce the braking to allow the wheels to get grip again. Otherwise you'll have locked wheels and you'll have a much extended braking distance, which is what caused an incident, I think it was last year near Salisbury, where 2 trains collided. Thankfully there were no fatalities, but yeah, it was caused by a wheel slide incident where the driver just could not stop before the red signal in time and ended up running into the back of another train. So the signal has now cleared. We're now cleared to enter Newark Northgate station, so we're about to turn left here, and the speed limit at the junction is going to be 25 miles per hour. So we're about 1/4 of a mile from that limit now. Just at this point as well, on our right hand side is a lovely sewage works. I mention that because the amount of times I've been stopped on a train at a red signal just here, and the window's been open, well, let's just say you certainly know that you're stopped by a sewage works, as the train absolutely stinks, and I certainly don't miss that when travelling along here. So just ahead of us is the flatbed diamond crossover, where this route actually directly crosses the East Coast main line. It's quite a rare crossover, if I'm honest. You don't generally get that kind of crossover on a main line normally. So we're now running alongside the East Coast Main Line, and Newark Northgate station is coming up just ahead of us, just past the single yellow signal that you can see. I've certainly been to Newark Northgate many times, and it's a great place to watch trains if you really like watching trains passing at high speed. Newark and neighbouring Grantham are both really good stations for that. So I'm just going to brake lightly now entering the platform. The speed limit changes here to 30 miles per hour as we enter the platform, but that's no use to us when we're stopping. So I want to stop just a little bit beyond the footbridge that you can see on the right hand side. I'm trying to remember where the correct stopping point is, as there's no stop markers been placed on the platforms in the route. I think this is about the right place to stop. And so here we are, arrival at Newark Northgate. Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, for the latest channel updates, you can find me on Facebook with the Facebook link in the video description. If you'd like to donate or sponsor this channel, then please visit my Patreon page for further information with the link to that in the video description. And finally, if you're interested in looking at my photography, which is mainly based around travel and wildlife, then please visit my Instagram page at PTG Travelling. And again, I'll put that handle in the video description just so you can check it out. And yeah, so once again, thank you for watching.